Henry Fonda didn't just carry guns in westerns. He transformed them into instruments of moral authority that defined American cinema for 4 decades, insisting on historical accuracy and authentic handling that separated mere cowboy pictures from timeless masterpieces. Today, we're counting down the 11 legendary firearms that made Henry Fonda the conscience of the Old West. Hit subscribe right now because these aren't Hollywood fantasies. These are the authentic weapons that shaped the greatest westerns ever filmed. Number 11. Remington, 1858, The Outsider's Choice. My Name is Nobody, 1973. At number 11, we have the weapon that proves even legends must eventually pass the torch. In My Name is Nobody, Fonda plays Jack Beauregard, an aging gunfighter trying to retire peacefully to Europe. The Remington 1858 he carries isn't his primary weapon, but its presence reveals everything about a man who's outlived his era and knows it. This percussion revolver becomes a symbol of obsolescence in a changing world.
Which means you ain't going nowhere.
The Remington 1858's 44 caliber chambering fires a 220 grain bullet at 750 feet per second, delivering 275 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds and 11 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this cap and ball revolver featured solid frame construction that made it stronger than contemporary Colt designs. The 8-inch barrel provided excellent accuracy for a percussion revolver, while the rugged build meant it could withstand decades of hard frontier use without mechanical failure. Here's what most viewers miss. By 1973, westerns were dying, and Sergio Leone knew it. Casting Fonda as an aging legend armed with an outdated percussion revolver was deliberate symbolism about the death of an entire genre. The Remington 1858 was obsolete by the 1880s, yet Beauregard still carries it because he's a man out of time, clinging to weapons and values that the modern world has left behind. He's not just an aging gunfighter, he's the Western itself, facing extinction. The solid frame design gave the Remington superior strength compared to Colt's open-top construction, preventing frame stretching under heavy use. This made it the choice of men who needed absolute reliability over decades of hard service. The cap and ball system required more maintenance than cartridge revolvers, but Beauregard maintains his weapon with the same meticulous care he's given it for 40 years. Fonda's handling reveals Beauregard's weariness with every movement. This isn't the quick-draw artist of younger days. This is a survivor who maintains his weapon out of habit and necessity, not passion. The solid frame Remington was actually preferred by many experienced frontiersmen who valued durability over the marginally faster reloading of Colt's designs. Watch Fonda's hands in these scenes. Every motion speaks to exhaustion and resignation. Original Remington 1858 revolvers in good condition sell for $2,500 to $6,000, while quality reproductions run $400 to $700. This weapon set the stage for Fonda's final Western performance, showing us a man ready to hang up his guns forever. Number 10. Winchester Model, 1873, The Repeating Legend, Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. Number 10 takes us to Sergio Leone's masterpiece, and the rifle that symbolized everything Frank, Fonda's villain, wasn't supposed to be. In Once Upon a Time in the West, Fonda shocked audiences worldwide by playing pure evil incarnate, and the Winchester Model 1873 in his hands became an instrument of casual murder rather than frontier justice. This wasn't just casting against type, it was destroying every expectation audiences had built over 3 decades of Fonda's heroic roles. The Model 1873's 4440 Winchester chambering drives a 200-grain bullet at 1,190 feet per second through its 24-inch barrel, delivering 630 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 9.5 pounds with a 15-round tubular magazine, this lever-action rifle earned its nickname as the gun that won the West. The toggle-link action designed by Benjamin Tyler Henry and perfected by Nelson King made it one of the most reliable repeating rifles ever produced, functioning flawlessly in dust, mud, and extreme temperatures that disabled lesser weapons. Leone's genius was casting against type with surgical precision. Audiences expected Fonda to be the hero riding in to save the day, but Frank emerged as one of cinema's most chilling villains, a corporate killer who murders women and children without hesitation. The Winchester 1873 in his hands lost all romantic associations and became simply what it was: a highly efficient killing machine in the hands of a remorseless murderer working for railroad money. The rifle that symbolized American expansion and civilization became a tool of corporate greed and industrial violence. Fonda's cold handling reveals Frank's nature with terrifying clarity. He works the lever action with mechanical precision, showing no emotion as he eliminates obstacles to his ambitions. There's no anger, no passion, just professional efficiency applied to murder. The 1873 was the civilian version of the military's lever-action rifles, democratizing repeating firepower for settlers, lawmen, and outlaws alike. Between 1873 and 1919, Winchester manufactured over 720,000 of these rifles, making it the most successful repeating rifle design of the frontier era. The film's opening scene, where Frank murders a child, became one of cinema's most shocking moments precisely because Fonda held that Winchester. Original Winchester Model 1873 rifles command $5,000 to $30,000, depending on condition and configuration, while quality reproductions run $1,000 to $2,000. This casting against type created one of cinema's most memorable villain performances. Number 9. Colt Single Action Army 4.75-inch, The Professional's Tool, Warlock, 1959. At number 9, we have the weapon that defined Fonda's transition from heroes to complex anti-heroes. In Warlock, he plays Clay Blaisdell, a hired gun who brings order to a lawless town through overwhelming violence. The 4.75-inch Colt Single Action Army he carries represents a professional's understanding that faster beats bigger in close-quarters gunfights. The Single Action Army's 45 Colt chambering drives a 255-grain bullet at 860 feet per second through its 4.75-inch barrel, delivering 420 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds and 6 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this shorter-barreled configuration sacrificed some velocity for dramatically improved draw speed and maneuverability. Blaisdell isn't a lawman. He's a killer for hire who happens to work for the right side, and his weapon choice reveals tactical sophistication that separates professionals from amateurs. The 4.75-inch barrel, often called the artillery or gunfighter model, reduced overall length by over 3 inches compared to the standard 7.5-inch version. Fonda's draw shows Blaisdell's ruthless efficiency. This isn't about honor or fair fights. It's about ending threats before they fully develop. The shorter barrel cleared leather faster while maintaining sufficient accuracy for combat ranges under 25 yards. Many professional gunfighters and lawmen preferred this configuration despite the slight velocity loss. Clay Blaisdell carries this weapon because he understands that survival requires every possible advantage. The reduced weight and length meant faster presentation from the holster, often the difference between living and dying in sudden confrontations. Original 4.75-inch single-action Army revolvers from the frontier era sell for $8,000 to $25,000, while quality reproductions run $700 to $1,200. Number 8. Spencer Repeating Rifle, the Union's Edge, the Tin Star, 1957. Number 8 brings us to the rifle that changed the Civil War, and the weapon Fonda's sheriff understands represents overwhelming tactical superiority. In the Tin Star, he plays an aging bounty hunter who becomes an unlikely mentor to a young sheriff. The Spencer repeating rifle he carries isn't just a gun. It's a declaration that modern warfare made individual courage obsolete. The Spencer's 56-56 chambering fires a 350-grain bullet at 1,200 feet per second, delivering over 1,100 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 10 pounds with a 7-round tubular magazine in the buttstock, this lever-action rifle gave Union troops a decisive firepower advantage that Confederate forces could rarely match. The unique loading system used metallic cartridges stored in the stock, allowing experienced soldiers to maintain a rate of fire exceeding 20 rounds per minute. Fonda's character carried a Spencer because he fought in the war and learned that superior firepower prevents violence more effectively than individual skill. The rifle's appearance in the film isn't random. It symbolizes the character's past and his understanding that the frontier era of individual combat is ending, replaced by industrial age warfare where technology trumps courage. The Spencer was revolutionary not just for its repeating capability, but for its use of completely self-contained metallic cartridges. This eliminated the slow, complex loading procedures of muzzle-loading rifles and made it possible to carry significant ammunition reserves. Over 200,000 Spencers were manufactured between 1860 and 1869. Original Spencer rifles in good condition command $6,000 to $15,000, while quality reproductions run $1,400 to $2,000. Fonda's handling reveals a man who survived the war by embracing technological superiority over romantic notions of fair combat. Number 7. Smith & Wesson Schofield, the Cavalry Standard, Fort Apache, 1948. At number 7, we have the revolver that many cavalry officers preferred over the famous Colt, and Fonda's choice to carry it in Fort Apache reveals his character's West Point education and professional military mindset. The Smith & Wesson Schofield's revolutionary top-break design solved the cavalry's most critical handgun problem: reloading while mounted. The Schofield's .45 Schofield chambering fires a 230 grain bullet at 730 feet per second, delivering 270 foot-pounds of reliable stopping power through its 7-inch barrel. Weighing 2 pounds and 8 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this revolver's true tactical advantage lay in its simultaneous ejection system. Breaking open the action with one hand dumped all 6 spent cases instantly, allowing fresh rounds to be inserted, and the gun snapped shut in under 15 seconds, half the time required for Colt's loading gate system. In Fort Apache, Fonda plays Lieutenant Colonel Owen Thursday, a rigid by-the-book officer whose adherence to military doctrine ultimately destroys him and his command. The Schofield isn't just period correct, it's psychologically perfect for Thursday's character. This was the weapon issued to cavalry officers, the gun that regulation and military hierarchy deemed superior. The United States Army purchased over 8,000 Schofields between 1875 and 1877 after field testing proved their advantages in mounted combat. The shorter .45 Schofield cartridge was specifically designed to ensure reliable extraction from the top brake mechanism, preventing the feeding problems that plagued some early revolver designs. Thursday carries this weapon because he's a man who follows orders and regulations without question. He trusts military authority over frontier wisdom, a fatal flaw that the film explores with devastating results. Original military-marked Schofield revolvers fetch $10,000 to $25,000, while quality reproductions run $900 to $1,400. Number 6. Winchester Model 1892, The Lawman's Companion, The Oxbow Incident, 1943. Number 6 takes us to one of cinema's most powerful anti-lynching films, and the rifle that symbolized the failure of law to prevent mob violence. In The Oxbow Incident, Fonda plays Gil Carter, a drifter who witnesses and reluctantly participates in a lynch mob's rush to frontier justice. The Winchester Model 1892 several characters carry represents the law's inadequacy when faced with collective bloodlust. This 1943 film dared to examine America's darkest impulses when most Westerns celebrated frontier violence. The Model 1892's .44-40 Winchester chambering launches a 200-grain bullet from its 20-inch carbine barrel at 1,190 feet per second, delivering 630 foot-pounds of energy. Weighing just 6.5 pounds with a 10-round tubular magazine, this lever-action rifle was John Moses Browning's refinement of the earlier Model 1873 design. The improved action eliminated feeding problems and strengthened the locking mechanism, creating a rifle so reliable it remained in production for nearly 50 years. The brilliance of the Oxbow Incident is showing that weapons alone don't create justice. Multiple characters carry Winchester rifles, yet none of them prevent the murder of 3 innocent men by hanging. Fonda's character has access to the same firepower as the mob leaders, but lacks the moral courage to use it until it's too late. He stands by with a loaded repeating rifle while 3 men are lynched, proving that physical power without moral courage is worthless. The Model 1892 appears repeatedly in the film because it was the most common rifle of the era, as familiar to frontiersmen as a hammer to a carpenter. Winchester manufactured over 1 million Model 1892 rifles between 1892 and 1941, making it one of the most successful lever-action designs ever produced. Its ubiquity in the film emphasizes that everyone had the tools to stop injustice, yet no one acted. This weapon's presence in the film becomes tragic rather than heroic. Superior firepower means nothing without the moral will to use it correctly. Fonda's Gil Carter embodies this failure, holding a Winchester while innocent men die. The film's final scene, where the mob learns they murdered innocent men, shows Fonda's character destroyed by guilt and cowardice. Original Winchester Model 1892 carbines in good condition sell for $2,000 to $6,000, while modern reproductions run $700 to $1,000. Fonda's Carter represents the tragedy of good men who fail to act when action is required. Number 5. Colt Navy, 1851, the Civil War veteran, the return of Frank James, 1940. At number 5, we have the revolver that launched Henry Fonda's Western career and established him as a serious dramatic actor who understood that firearms revealed character. In The Return of Frank James, Fonda plays the legendary outlaw seeking revenge for his brother Jesse's murder. The Colt Navy, 1851 he carries connects Frank James to his Confederate past and the violence that shaped him. The Colt Navy, 1851's 36 caliber chambering fires an 80-grain round ball at 1,000 feet per second, delivering 178 foot-pounds of energy through its 7.5-inch octagonal barrel. Weighing 2 pounds and 10 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this percussion revolver earned its name from a cylinder engraving depicting the Battle of Campeche Bay. The elegant lines and excellent balance made it the preferred sidearm of Confederate officers and gentlemen gunfighters throughout the Civil War era. Frank James actually carried Colt Navy revolvers during his outlaw years, making this historically accurate casting. Fonda insisted on authentic weapons and handling techniques, elevating the return of Frank James above typical B westerns of the era. His careful attention to period-correct firearms established a pattern he'd maintained throughout his career. The 1851 Navy was smaller and lighter than the Colt Dragoon, making it more suitable for belt carry while still delivering adequate stopping power for combat ranges. Between 1850 and 1873, Colt manufactured over 250,000 of these revolvers, making them widely available throughout the frontier period. Fonda's Frank James carries this weapon as a connection to his Confederate veteran identity and the code of honor that drives his quest for vengeance. The 36 caliber was considered a gentleman's weapon, powerful enough to be effective, but refined enough for someone who viewed himself as a cut above common outlaws. Original Colt Navy, 1851 revolvers in good condition command $8,000 to $25,000 depending on condition and provenance, while quality reproductions run $400 to $600. Number 4. Sharps Rifle, the Buffalo Gun, Fire Creek, 1968. Number 4 brings us to the rifle that symbolized both America's expansion and its near extermination of the buffalo herds. In Fire Creek, Fonda plays Johnny Cobb, the leader of a gang of drifters who terrorize a small town. The Sharps rifle in his possession isn't his primary weapon, but its presence reveals the character's backgrounds as buffalo hunters turned outlaws. The Sharps 4570 government chambering fires a 405-grain bullet at 1,350 feet per second, delivering 1,640 foot-pounds of crushing energy through its 30-inch barrel. Weighing 10 pounds as a rifle configuration, this single-shot falling block design was capable of accurate shots beyond 600 yards in skilled hands. The rifle used paper or linen cartridges in early models, later transitioning to metallic cartridges that dramatically improved reliability and rate of fire. Professional buffalo hunters used Sharps rifles to systematically eliminate the vast herds that sustained Plains Indian cultures, earning the rifle a reputation that mixed admiration for its accuracy with horror at its effectiveness in destroying an entire ecosystem. Cobb and his men represent the darker side of westward expansion, men who profited from slaughter and turned to outlawry when the buffalo were gone. The Sharps wasn't a weapon for close combat. It was a precision instrument for killing at distance, perfectly suited to men who approach violence as a profession rather than a necessity. The falling block action was strong enough to handle the powerful black powder cartridges required for long-range work, while the excellent sights made accurate shot placement possible even at extreme distances. In Fire Creek, the Sharps symbolize industrial-scale violence, replacing individual combat. Cobb and his gang aren't romantic outlaws. They're men who learned to kill efficiently and found they couldn't stop when the hunting ended. Original Sharps rifles from the 1860s and 70s sell for $8,000 to $30,000 depending on model and condition, while quality reproductions run $2,000 to $4,000. Number 3. Colt Single Action Army, 7.5 inch, the Peacemaker, My Darling Clementine, 1946. At number 3, we have the weapon that defined Wyatt Earp's legend and Fonda's most iconic Western role. In My Darling Clementine, director John Ford's mythologized version of the Tombstone story, Fonda plays Earp as a reluctant hero forced into violence by circumstance. The 7.5 inch Colt Single Action Army he carries represents frontier law attempting to civilize chaos through superior firepower and moral authority. The Single Action Army's 45 Colt chambering drives a 255 grain bullet at 860 feet per second through its 7.5 inch barrel, delivering 420 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds and 9 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this configuration represented the perfect balance of power, accuracy, and portability that made it the most famous handgun in American history. Ford's Earp isn't a professional gunfighter. He's a cattleman turned lawman who brings order through competence and calm authority rather than speed and aggression. The 7.5 inch barrel, the standard cavalry length, provided maximum accuracy for deliberate shooting while remaining portable enough for daily carry. This length gave the best sight radius and velocity for the .45 Colt cartridge. Fonda's portrayal established the template for the thoughtful, reluctant Western hero, a man who wears a gun not because he wants to, but because civilization requires someone willing to use force in its defense. The Single Action Army in his hands became a symbol of legitimate authority, the physical manifestation of law arriving in lawless territory. Between 1873 and 1941, Colt manufactured over 357,000 Single Action Army revolvers. The 7.5 inch barrel version was the most common configuration, equally suitable for cavalry, lawmen, and civilians who wanted maximum accuracy and power. Original Single Action Army revolvers from the frontier era command $12,000 to $40,000, depending on condition, special features, and documented history, while quality reproductions run $700 to $1,200. Number 2. Winchester Model, 1866, Yellow Boy, The Golden Era, Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. Number 2 returns us to Sergio Leone's masterpiece, and the rifle that symbolized both technological progress and moral corruption. While Fonda's villain Frank primarily carried the Model 1873, the Winchester Model 1866, Yellow Boy appears in crucial scenes, representing the wealth and power that drives the film's murderous conflict over railroad expansion. The Model 1866's .44 Henry rimfire chambering pushes a 200-grain bullet at 1,125 feet per second through its 24-inch octagonal barrel, creating 560 foot-pounds of frontier stopping power. Weighing 9¼ pounds with a 15 to 17-round tubular magazine, this brass-frame lever action rifle brought industrial-age firepower to the frontier. The distinctive brass frame gave better corrosion resistance in harsh alkaline dust and extreme temperature changes, while creating the golden appearance that earned it the Yellow Boy nickname. Leone understood that Westerns were ultimately about capitalism and power, not individual heroism. The Yellow Boy appears as railroad money flows westward, bringing technological progress through violence and displacement. The rifle's presence symbolizes how corporate power and industrial wealth replaced individual frontier virtues. The Model 1866 was the first Winchester rifle, an improved version of the Henry rifle that added a loading gate and stronger action. It bridged the gap between the Civil War era and the modern cartridge firearms that would dominate the later frontier period. Between 1866 and 1898, Winchester manufactured over 170,000 of these rifles. In Leone's vision, the Yellow Boy represents the Gilded Age arriving in the West, bringing railroads, telegraphs, and corporate power that would eventually eliminate the frontier entirely. Original Winchester Model 1866 rifles command $15,000 to $50,000 or more depending on condition and configuration, while quality reproductions run $1,000 to $1,800. Number 1. Colt Single Action Army Buntline Special, the Icon Maker, My Darling Clementine, 1946. Here stands the firearm that transformed Henry Fonda from actor into legend. Wyatt Earp's Colt Buntline Special in My Darling Clementine isn't just the most famous gun Fonda ever carried, it's arguably the most iconic weapon in Western cinema history, creating an image so powerful it defined Earp's legend for generations, despite questionable historical accuracy. The Buntline's .45 Colt chambering drives that proven 255-grain bullet through its extended 12-inch barrel at over 900 feet per second, delivering 460 foot-pounds of energy with dramatically improved accuracy. Weighing 3 pounds and 4 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this weapon transformed the legendary single-action Army into a precision instrument that blurred the line between handgun and carbine. The Buntline legend claims Ned Buntline, a dime novelist, commissioned 5 special long-barreled Colts for famous lawmen, including Earp. Historical evidence for this story is questionable at best, but John Ford's film cemented the myth into American consciousness. The 12-inch barrel provided a sight radius approaching 14 inches, making precision shots possible at ranges where ordinary revolvers became ineffective. Fonda's Earp drawing the Buntline created one of cinema's most recognizable images. The extended barrel wasn't about practicality, it was about presence and moral authority made visible. When Earp wore the Buntline, everyone knew they faced not just a lawman, but the embodiment of civilization arriving to tame the frontier. Director John Ford understood that Westerns were myths, not history, and the Buntline Special became the perfect symbol of that myth-making. The extended barrel reduced muzzle flip and felt recoil while providing rifle-like accuracy from a handgun platform. Some sources claim the barrel could be even longer, up to 16 inches, though most reproductions use the 12-inch length. Fonda never drew the Buntline quickly. He didn't need to. The psychological impact of that enormous revolver meant most conflicts ended before they began. This wasn't about being the fastest gun. It was about carrying a weapon so distinctive and purposeful that it announced your authority before you spoke a word. Only a handful of authentic frontier-era Buntline Specials exist, commanding prices exceeding $100,000 when they appear at auction. Most are actually later commemorative pieces. Quality reproductions run $1,000 to $2,000. The prop Fonda used in My Darling Clementine is preserved in a film archive, one of the most valuable movie firearms ever created. The Buntline Special made Henry Fonda's Wyatt Earp immortal because it perfectly captured the essence of Ford's Western mythology. The idea that individual moral courage backed by superior firepower could bring order to chaos. It represented everything Americans wanted to believe about the frontier, that good men with the right tools could make civilization possible in a savage land. Henry Fonda's Western firearms reveal a profound truth about American cinema and the frontier myth it created. From the outdated Remington 1858 of his final Western through the legendary Buntline Special that made him an icon, each weapon told stories that dialogue never could. Fonda succeeded where many Western stars failed, because he understood that firearms weren't props, but essential elements of character development. These 11 weapons chart the evolution of American Westerns from simple adventure stories into complex moral examinations of violence, justice, and the cost of civilization. The guns Fonda carried weren't chosen for their cool factor or box office appeal. They were selected to serve the story and illuminate the character's psychology. What separated Fonda from other Western actors was his insistence on authenticity and his understanding that how a man carries his weapon reveals everything about his soul. Whether playing heroes, villains, or complex anti-heroes, Fonda's firearms were always historically appropriate and psychologically revealing. From the professional's 4.75-inch Colt to the mythical Buntline Special, each gun reflected not just the era, but the man who carried it. The pattern is undeniable. Great actors don't just carry guns in Westerns. They transform them into instruments of storytelling that communicate character, theme, and moral complexity without a single word of dialogue. Fonda's firearms remain what he made them, symbols of an America that probably never existed, but that we desperately wanted to believe in. A frontier where good men with the right weapons could establish justice through superior firepower tempered by moral restraint. Which Henry Fonda Western gun captured your imagination? Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe for more deep dives into the authentic weapons that built American cinema. Until next time, remember that in the hands of a master actor like Henry Fonda, firearms become more than weapons. They become the physical manifestation of character, morality, and the eternal struggle between civilization and chaos that define the American West.